Welcome back to the Nordic Championship, where we will soon be jumping into the game between Placeholder123 and Ventus Esports, as their series is not finished but tied 1-1 so far. So we're gonna hold on for Ventus and the final tribe a little bit longer and watch this game. And before that starts, we really need to talk about what's going on here, because it's a lot to keep track on, and to be honest, I'm not even sure that I can do it, so we're just gonna have to roll with it and see what happens.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not entirely sure what's going on really because these teams are so close. This tournament is so close. We, of course, are going to be eventually moving on to Ventus versus the final try. But before that happens, we're going to be taking the chance to watch game number 3 between Placeholder123 and Ventus Esports, two of the top teams in the standings right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Ventus is now still in the top spot, but that spot could be up for grabs very soon, especially if they lose this game versus Placeholder123. The fact that when that Placeholder123 was able to just grab that one match actually is so important for them, because we count every single point in this tournament. So at first, to see how many games you win, just in general, as Ventus Esports is at 5-1 so far, but then after that we count each match as well.
Yeah.
So for example, Placeholder, they grabbed one more point with this also, just edging a little bit ahead of Nordic and Nordic White and Östersund's FK, of course.
Yeah, for sure. So going to 1 rather than losing 2-0 is actually really big when it comes to the standings here, because these teams are so close. So just the one map that Placeholder's been picking up so far could prove to be what takes them to the semifinals over teams like Östersund or TFT or Nordic.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can have a look at the standings right now from the beginning of tonight, as these standings are not yet updated because all of these games aren't finished yet. But starting off today, Ventus Esports was up in the top 5-1. One win from securing their spot in the top. And also, with Nordic picking up that win versus Östersund's FK. If Ventus Esports start losing games now, that could mean that they're falling behind a little bit. But actually no, because Östersund's FK, if they had been able to take 2 wins today, that would have been a little bit dangerous for Ventus Esports if the same would have happened for Nordic White in the final try. But since Nordic White, they did...
yeah, that's the big thing.
They did lose
for me.
versus Fortress. Yeah, they did.
I did not expect that at all. So one of the top teams here, Nordic, losing to Fortress 2-0, that could be detrimental for Nordic.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nordic White have moved down from 2nd spot to 5th spot in the standings right now with 4-3. And with that, Nordic have moved up just above them with 10 points to their 9. Placeholder123 at 10 points right now, but with the one match they have taken off Ventus Esports, also going to be edging ever so slightly forward, which means Ventus Esports really need this win. And also Ventus are playing versus the final tribe later tonight. The final tribe is at the 2nd spot right now with 11 points, winning versus Celestial Gaming earlier tonight.
So with all of that out of the way, I think it's actually time for me to interrupt you, Sang, because I've been getting some calls from the players that they are ready to jump into the 3rd map. We are 1-1, and now that we know what's on the line, know a bit more about the standings, this could prove to be so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about this game in particular. Placeholder123 versus Ventus Esports. Ventus Esports really wants to have this victory to secure their place in the top of the 4. But no matter what happens, Ventus Esports, I think, will not be able to be pushed out of this tournament, as Nordic has the 4th spot and they are at 4-3. So Ventus Esports still definitely, I think, is up in the running. Now Placeholder123 starting this one off with a ban on the Lee Sin, and Ventus Esports with the Zoe ban.
So of course we have not seen the earlier games in this best out of 3. We did not know what happened. Speaking a bit more about these teams though, I think what really stands out to me is the bottom laners. Chrislund here is more known as Pinoy. He's been playing a really mean Veigar. He's actually known for his Veigar, which he plays in the bottom lane. He still plays bottom lane mages like Sigs and champions like that, so that is why the Veigar is on the ban list. His rival on the opposing side, though, Spectral, he played 2 Vayne games in the series that we saw him earlier, was actually really good on the Vayne, so he's really known for that specific champion. Let's see if he dares to pick that up against Chrislund.
Yeah, absolutely. Vayne is a champion that if you're really good at it into the right composition, she can be an absolute monster, but she is also so weak in the early stages of the game that she can definitely be shut down by something like the point and click kill Veigar champion going to be taken off this pick list. Now the Nidalee has been banned, of course, and the Illusion as well, leaving the Jarvaness for the first pick for Placeholder123.
Now that is going to be a strong flex pick, and the strong flex pick that stands out to me here is going to be the Jace, which we saw getting very heavy priority in the first tier, so could definitely be picked up here for Ventus if that's the direction they want to be going in. Also, I think both of these junglers should be interested in potentially picking up a Karthus, which we've not been seeing too much of in the tournament. We've seen it a couple of times, but we've seen it on the ban list quite frequently. And I think with Majd, or I'm not sure how we decided to pronounce his name, Maid?
Maid? I'm not
something
sure.
like that.
I think Maid feels like the proper pronunciation here, but
I think Maid makes a lot of sense, yeah.
mostly because it's easier to pronounce than Majd.
Majd, yeah, let's go Maid here. He's definitely a carry jungler, so Karthus, if not picked here, could be at least considered in the last round of picks.
Yeah, absolutely. Also like to see Pinoy and Quickseth on this Thresh and Kalista bot lane. The response will be the Morgana to try to keep Spectral safe on this Tristana pick that he's going for. No Vayne this time around.
Yeah, and we're starting to see a very good carry comp here for Placeholder, which is just a lot of setup for Spectral. The Morgana, of course, is going to be able to keep that Tristana safe, because otherwise she can have a tough time up against the Thresh, who can interrupt that rocket jump very easily. And with the Jarvan as well, with the attack speed going down from the Jarvan flag, that's going to be contributing a lot to Tristana as well. And I think this Corki for Priest Cornet is actually a pick away from Placeholder123 because of the very strong synergy between Jarvan and Corki with that flag attack speed. So if you've got Jarvan with several champions who really want that attack speed on your team, that can be very hard to deal with. So I like the Corki pick away.
Yeah, absolutely a strong champion with the changes to the itemizations as well. Corki is getting some attention in this patch. Now with the LeBlanc banned versus this, of course, you still want to be a little bit more defensive in the mid lane with this champion versus bursty assassins. And Placeholder123 now with their first ban for this second rotation. We'll see what they are going for. They've been focusing for 2 junglers and, of course, the focus target on Pinoy Krislund. For the bot lane, Sejuani will be taken away from Maid, which I think is a good choice, as we have seen a lot of strong Sejuani players in this tournament. Here's the Orianna ban as well. Placeholder123 now with the final ban for the rotation.
Yeah, trying to deny those sort of playmaking mid laners onto Priest Cornet. Just wants to be having him in a safe 1v1 mid lane matchup. And with this Corki, you're going to be scaling so well into the later stages with a buff to the critical strike items that we've been seeing recently, buffing a lot of the standard AD carries, but also the likes of Corki, who can do so much with that. Looking for the jungle pool here for Maid. He's been kind of pinned down with these bans. I still think Karthus would be quite a curveball here with these comps, but definitely not a terrible pick, as he's strong into those sort of protect the carry comps, as that Requiem is always going to be guaranteed damage.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if Karthus will be picked for this composition. It's going to be a Nocturne, as he can chase down the Tristana even through the rocket jump. And Placeholder123 now has the opportunity to respond for this. Is this going to be a jungle Jarvan, or will it be sent to the top lane?
They're going to have to reveal their hand right now. I would suspect it to be a jungle Jarvan, since you've got so many jungle bans gone down already.
Exactly.
And having a big frontliner is going to be really good for this Tristana. You do need some more damage, though, for Night Fury here in the mid lane, and something that can put pressure onto the Corki as well. Something like a Syndra would be a pretty decent pick with all of the zoning and burst damage that you have when there's no real frontline on Ventus. But on the other hand, that would be an immobile pick versus the Nocturne, and there is action in Aurelion Sol.
Yeah, I'm interested. I want to say happy. I'm sort of happy to see some Aurelion Sol attention again, but also a very immobile champion that once you get inside of his range can't really do that much, especially versus a Nocturne that can spell shield your ultimate. You can't even knock him away. So something that Night Fury needs to be a bit careful with his positioning in these team fights, and also something that works well with a Nocturne to engage, of course, is the Shen that can follow up on the engage all the way to the back line. So this is an interesting team composition from Ventus Esports, showing that they want to pull out all the stops and go straight ahead for these big fights.
Yeah, and this Aurelion Sol is so interesting because you've got this sort of almost a protect the carry comp here with the Tristana with the black shield and the attack speed from the Jarvan flag. It's going to be that big of a hyper carry. So what you usually want is a mid laner who's also a big threat that the enemy team also has to really deal with in the later stages. Aurelion does not scale that well, but what he does really well is gank the side lanes.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
can push up the mid lane, especially into the core. He does not have that much wave clear, and just make plays happen on the entire map all the time. He's going to be making... I really want to see Night Fury move on the map together with Tanu and then put pressure on towards the side lane, either to top or preferably to the bottom lane, and get, if we can get Spectral snowballing on this Tristana, which won't be too easy when you're up against Thresh. Kai'Sa, who can pretty much dodge away from those ganks, but if we're able to make that happen, if we're able to snowball this Tristana, that's going to be the win condition now for Placeholder.
Yeah, absolutely. And Placeholder, though, looking at Night Fury as a player, I feel like we haven't seen him roam that much. We haven't seen him get that much lane priority in the mid lane. So I have a feeling from that we will see a different kind of play style from him than we have in the previous games. Or is this going to be something that should be working on paper? But a lot of these players in this tournament, sometimes we see a lot of champions, we see a lot of team compositions that works on paper. But when it comes to the actual game, it's not that easy. It's not chess. A lot of things can happen. There's a lot of nerves coming into the game. And I'm really looking forward to see what Night Fury will do on this very mobile side lane ganking champion.
Yeah, for sure, and that Aurelion Sol is not going to be easy to execute. That's a very hard champion to make work in like every sense of the word. He needs very really good skill in order to both be...
We're just gonna...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna interrupt you for a second here and have a look at the updated standings right now. As they have been updated. We have Ventus Esports still in the top as they are playing this game versus Placeholder123. The final tribe is at 2nd place, and Nordic have been able to claw their way up from 6th place up to the 4th. Still, though, tied in score with Nuriki White and Assassin's FK when you just look at it on paper, but every single match counts as well. So for each map that they win, they also get that 1 extra point. So now we're going to go straight into this game versus Placeholder123 and Ventus Esports, where Ventus Esports want to secure their top spot.
Yeah, and looking at this matchup that we're seeing right now, Johnny on the Sion versus Sleeping Shen, you might be asking yourself, when Ventus saved counter pick for Sleeping here in this matchup, why didn't you go for like the big counter matchup that would beat the 1v1? Why is this a Fiora or a Jace or something that can just smash this Sion down in the 1 versus 1 matchup? It's because how well Shen is going to be working with this Nocturne later on. So you both got the amazing double global combination with the Shen ulti coming in on top of the Nocturne when he ult is in, but you've also got a very strong 1-3-1 comp. If you're able to get Sleeping in the side lane up against Johnny, he's going to be able to push that out in the 1 versus 1, and then if Quirky gets ahead, you can have him in the side lane too, and having like a 1-3-1 sort of split push comp with these 2 globals, with the Paranoia and the Stand United, that's going to be very strong when it comes to that sort of mid to later game split pushing scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, of course, having the package on Corki, also adding to that global presence that Ventus are really good at playing around. Now for this bot lane, Spectral and Silent, you mentioned earlier, Spectral has been playing the Vayne, that also can be considered a hard carry if you're up versus a lot of tanks. For this game around, now going with the Tristana instead. Of course, gonna scale very well towards the late game, and not as strong in the early stages.
So we'll see what Night Fury can do on this Aurelion Sol. It's not a champion that we've been seeing a lot, and if you're just tuning in and asking yourself, wow, why isn't he playing with a recently buffed Conqueror, which can work out really well on the Aurelion Sol? The answer is we are 9.3, so there is no rework Conqueror. Phase Rush is the best rune choice by far for this.
Oh! Hook under the turret, flash forward onto Spectral. A good Dark Binding is going to stop Chrislin from moving forward even further, but getting caught under the turret is a dangerous thing for Spectral. Also, we saw earlier but didn't have time to mention that Tanu was able to go in for an invade. Another engage down bot lane, this time on the Morgana, and first blood is going to go to Made. Now Made still chasing this one down, flashing forward, not going to be able to proc the Fear. You can see Night Fury instantly starting to roam on this Aurelion Sol. Is going to pay off, going to pick up the kill as Tanu gets that one. That's a 1 kill for Tanu and 1 kill for Made.
You can see how well this Aurelion Soul pick is working out. Express Cornet is not able to join the roam at all, and even though Night Fury spent so much time in the bottom lane, he's still gonna be ahead in CS. And you can see how well practiced Placeholder is with this pick, and this is really the big advantage when you're bringing out something a bit unorthodox like the Aurelion Soul. It's both that you as a team know how to play with it, and that the enemy team don't really know how to play around it. So Tanu going for the bottom lane engage with a mid priority there. Oh, gonna be looking for Priscorn here, but with Valkyrie and Flash is gonna be staying safe there. But yeah, able to go for both of the bottom lane invade there and the fight in towards the bottom side with the mid pry from Aurelion. Good set of plays for Placeholder.
Yeah, absolutely. Placeholder, though their bot lane was scored, so Zayton went down first. Still able to get some of what they wanted. Still so important for Ventus Esports that they were able to get 1-for-1 through that fight. Spectral also losing a lot of HP. You can see how safe the Tristana pick is in those situations. Up top lane, here comes Mate. Not going to hit his Q on Janji. Janji's just gonna back off. Getting some damage off on Sleepy as well, as Sleepy is tanking a few of these minions. But for this bot lane, I feel like Spectral and Zayton kind of wanted to bait that situation, but went a little bit too far with it, maybe? Not quite sure if they were caught or if that was all sort of part of the plan.
That's an interesting question there. Were they actually baiting for the hooks from Quickset? Because a couple of those landed early on, and that's really the reason that they Placeholder was falling behind, or sorry, was not winning as hard in those sort of early game fights when he got that big of a mid priority. And Quickset and Crystalline really looking like the strongest bottom lane of the tournament so far, in my opinion. Been doing a really good job, and those couple of hooks going down early is going to be given the lead over to them, although Made was the one stealing away the kill there.
Yeah, absolutely. Also getting a few kills, or getting a kill off on a Nocturne in the early game is something that you're always happy to get. It's going to propel him towards that level 6 a little bit faster. And Quickset pushing in Zayton quite well here. Zayton's going to keep these minions safe for his marksman. So now comes the first recall for Krislund and Quickset down the bot lane.
Now this is one of the weaknesses of the Tristana. You're not actually able to choose to slow push that lane. It's always going to be pushing that with your E, so it's going to be pushing in, and you've got the Berserker Greaves against the BF Sword of Crystalline, who is not going to be going for that Blade of the Ruin King on-hit build early on, but rather the BF Sword double pickaxe build, where you go for that Q evolve early on and then get a lot of early ability to shove the wave with that evolved Q.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to get that spike on the ability a little bit faster, although sacrificing some of your early game priority going for the build. For the top lane, Genji was ganked earlier to no real avail. Mate has been putting a lot of pressure on this map. See another attempted hook down the bot lane and a dark binding attempt. Not going to hit anything, although Spectral taking some damage from this trade. See Krislund focusing to get this harass off instead of sacrificing a few losses under the turret.
Yeah, you can see Night Fury here in this mid lane on the Aurelion. Yeah, he's going for the bottom lane roam. You really need to make things happen here. You are running that Phase Rush Aurelion, so you need to make the place on the map up against the Corki. Priscorn is playing this really well, I think. You're starting with a Cull, you're never pushing the wave, you're just letting it push into your own tower, where you, since you are Corki with those rockets, you can see us under tower very easily. And then, yes, Aurelion has to make place on the map, because if he's not, that's going to be a Corki with a Cull just scaling up and getting scarier and scarier, and we all know how good he's going to be at like 4, 5, 6 items. This Cork is going to be insanely hard to deal with. So Night Fury, there's got to be a reason that you're picking Aurelion, and that reason should be putting pressure on towards his side lanes. Not sure how much he can do though.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, a good reaction to this tactic from Ventus Esports, as they instantly realize what they need to do. Priscorn is handling this lane well. And like you mentioned, down for the bot lane, it's a bit dangerous to just jump in with an Aurelion Sol versus the Thresh, as we've already seen what could happen if they mistime that roam a little bit. And Mate is just farming it up. So while this happens, Main has gotten his level 6, and now will be looking for a gank. Could, of course, be looking bot lane, and to counter this, Tanu has arrived.
Yeah, good point there. I think that's actually what Main should be doing, but of course Tanu knows that.
Tanu inside with the Cataclysm, holding on to the Summoner spells. Dark Defense is not going to hit anything, though the ultimate has arrived. Paranoia focusing down Tanu. Tanu backing up again,
that was
just barely avoiding and baiting out the Summoner spell. A good hook, though, is going to catch Night Fury. Package arriving, forcing Night Fury's flash, forcing more flash. But look at the damage from Priest Kunet, together with the rest of his team, as Sleeping arrives as well to help. Those are 4 quick pickups in the bot lane. Sleeping using Stand United to do exactly that with his team. Getting a lot of these platings off as well. A huge pickup for Ventus Esports.
That was extremely nice for Ventus, and they're taking such a big lead here. Gonna be up to 3.5k here, with, 3.2k with the last tower platings. And Janji, he was 5 seconds from having TP off cooldown when Sleeping went for that bottom lane play. Also, Janji did not go for the ultimate to try to interrupt Sleeping since there was no vision of him, and overall just a great counter there. Placeholder thought that they were ahead of the curve there, with Aurelion coming in faster with the mid lane priority, but then Quirky Package and Shen ulti impossible to deal with. 4 for 0, couple of tower platings. Really strong lead right now for Ventus.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a slight bit surprised. Oh, scratch that. Here comes the gank top lane. Sleeping has ventured further than he can handle, although he deals surprisingly a lot of damage actually on Tanu, but here comes the help as well. The cavalry arrives. Not that it was needed, as Tanu manages to pick that one up still, but in a 2 versus 1, Sleeping handled that so well. For a second there, I thought he was going to be able to get away, but didn't have Flash, already sacrificed that one bot lane.
Yeah, you can see that with the Twilight Shroud, the W is able to buy so much time up against these auto attackers, which is also a reason that you're picking Shen here, because a lot of the enemy team's damage is going to be on this Tristana as well as sort of the Jarvan. So that's a good thing about the Shen as well. With the early rush towards the Titanic Hydra, he should also be able to keep up in the 1 versus 1 and probably even get a bit ahead of the Scion.
So Mate was standing on top of that control ward, not taking it away. I'm not sure why he didn't clear that ward, as I'm fairly sure that he should have seen it, considering he was standing on top of it. Anyway, he's gonna go for the dragon now. No response whatsoever, as Tanu is not close to it. He recalled earlier, that's a free Cloud Dragon. Extra mobility on this team, not too shabby actually.
Yeah, really strong with the Nocturne there, as you can always use your W's, the Spell Shield, to ignore one of the auto attacks from the Dragon, as well as proccing the extra attack speed from your W. So, Dragons, no problem for Nocturne early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Making quick work of the Dragon. Gonna talk a bit about Night Fury. As you mentioned earlier, his roaming has not been able to do that much, even though he was able to arrive top lane to make sure that if something bad had happened for Tanu and Janji, that he would have picked that one up, but still wasn't able to get it, so he didn't get any extra assists. Still stuck on that 1 assist from his first roam of the game. Falling behind ever so much in the mid lane now versus this Corki.
Yeah, I love that you bring up the mid lane here, Sang, because I think this is the big strong point for Ventus here. 2,000 gold lead at 12 minutes here for Priest Cornet compared to Night Fury. Both 3 kills up, as well as a bunch of CS and some tower platings in the bottom lane, and that is on a very scary late game Corki, who I honestly don't think Placeholder have any great ways of dealing with. And I like Corki in general. I think he's a very safe pick, contributes a lot of damage later on, but also has the wave clear. And you're also going to be safe up against this Jarvan. That Cataclysm can be such a nuisance for the immobile mid laners, but with a Valkyrie, you don't have to really be too scared of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this early game that Ventus Esports have gotten, oh, the death sentence lands on Tanu, and Tanu has nowhere to go, did not have anything up to avoid that. Down the bot lane, the flash forward by Zayton is going to force the flash of Krislund as well, try to get out of range, but versus the mobility boots was not fast enough to get away without burning with Summoner spell at least. Zayton now has finished his quest, is going to be pushing forward, but Krislund, although he's solo down here, still handling this, slowing this push down slightly, and buying some time for his team to secure the Rift Herald and get even more gold in the mid lane.
Yeah, I don't think that Placeholder realized that Quickset was roaming until pretty much the hook was landing onto Tanu, and then it was far too late. Here in the bottom lane, though, I did see Sleeping use that Stand United and Johnny use the teleport, so both of the top laners going down to help their respective carries down there. Gotta say that, yeah, Kristan was actually able to hold 1 versus 2 there pretty well without being forced to use anything but the flash and the ulti, and you can see now with the oh, it's actually 1 AD of having the evolved Q. That is pretty funny.
Oh no, a bit of a misstep there. Gonna be hit by the dog binding, although he was able to finally land and through all that.
Oh,
and
the hook!
still finding things, finds the hook as well. Quickset managing to solo this with the ignite on, flashing forward and getting the kill as well. He is not going to survive it though, but being the support, picking up the kills like that, we're always happy with just the 1 versus 2ing as a support.
The Thresh auto attacks, he was just whacking Spectral to death with that whatever his weapon thingy that he carries around is called.
It's some sort of scythe.
Yeah, probably.
I think he got some help from the Void Rockets though, so maybe it wasn't like 1 versus 2, but still just being able to stick around in that situation, knowing exactly how much damage Spectral had, knowing Spectral did not have the reset on his rocket jump, it was nothing Spectral could do, and Quickset just playing that beautifully. Also, of course, from the first place, landing that death sentence.
Yeah, and I think that is actually very key in this game because Spectral is the big carry for Placeholder. Aurelion doesn't scale too well, and you've got both the Black Shield and the Jarvan flag to boost the damage and safety for Spectral here on this Tristana. And with about a 20 CS lead up onto Crystal, counting these minions which are now hitting the tower, Spectral was starting to get a bit of a lead here in the bottom lane matchup, which is really the key for them should they be able to go to the later stages and take some control of this game, because Tristana, as we know, is so scary when it comes to those later stages. So getting the kill there, shutting down the Tristana a bit, very good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Another fight starting. This time it's Titan sticking around for too long, and Quickset picks that one up.
Probably didn't have to take it.
Probably didn't have to take it. Really wanted to donate that to Kristen, but using the flay and instantly going in and dying after that happens, venturing too far into enemy jungle. And paying with a hit with his live mate as well, never leaving anyone behind. Also going to follow, and the same thing will happen to him. So a little bit of a misstep there by Ventus Esports, going a bit too deep after getting the pick of Titan.
Yeah, not too impressed by Ventus so far, actually. I mean, they were the big tournament favorites, but right now they're not looking too clean. No real reason that Quixis and Mage should have gone in there when Priscon was roaming back. Here goes the TP play, though.
Yeah, Sleeping arriving with the flash forward. Not going to hit the taunt, though, as it was just out of range to land that one on Tanu. Not going to get it, although Priestkunit is there to help. We can see the damage he has with the Trinity Force and the BF Swords. Going to finish off the turret. And it will still be some more global gold for Ventus Esports, although their top turret is taking some damage as we speak.
That could prove to be a significant misplay there for Sleeping. He's known as one of the stronger mechanical top laners, but missing that, straight up missing the flash taunt onto Tanu. And that could be extra important here for Sleeping, because he's one of the most well-known Finnish players in this sort of professional but not top-tier scene in Europe. He's one of the big names for Finland, and he's playing up against a Finnish team and making mistakes like that. That could be coming back to bite him later on.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very important to land. When using all of those abilities, you really need to get everything you can out of it. Still, he's been able to handle this lane so well, so definitely showing how good he is with this Shen. But I agree with you that at this point, you really can't make any mistakes. They still want to hold on to this top spot. They are up versus Placeholder123, who is on at the 3rd place in the standings right now, I think. They are actually, with so much happening, I'm having a hard time keeping track on all the teams, but I think that's where they are.
Something like in those areas, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Placeholder still, of course, doing so well on this, although this Aurelion Soul pick has not been working out for them the way that they had hoped.
No, not at all. And the other mid laner here, Express Cornet, he has his big power spike in this sort of mid game now. 2 item with the upgraded boots as well. And these are not any 2 items, these are 2 of the most expensive items in the game that he's been able to pick up by 18 minutes. No one else is on 2 items, and he's got Infinity Edge and Triforce. This Corki is insanely strong right now. Of course, he's also really strong when it comes to like 4, 5, 6 items, but now is the first time where he's really spiking hard. Level 13, highest level in the game. This Corki is pretty big, and I think the big thing is that in a fight right now, there's not really too much Placeholder can actually do against Brisk Hornet because of how safe he is with that Valkyrie. They don't really have any threat onto this big damage dealer.
No, absolutely, and they kind of need to decide who also to engage on. If they want to go and try to catch Kriesland, they're going to have to handle Priest Hornet, unless, of course, these 2 carries would be standing on top of each other, just like, I don't know, chilling without any vision, letting everything land on top of them. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to handle. There's a lot of ways to keep them safe as well, with the Shen, with the Thresh, and also, of course, you need to still worry about this Nocturne. Sleeping, though, using his taunt a bit early in that situation. He's going to be hit by every single spell in this, trying to get some damage off on Tanu. He's able to, but he has to sacrifice his life. With 3 members, though, of Placeholder123 down bot lane, you would expect to see Ventus Esports try to get something else on the map, but what is there to get, really? There are no objectives on this map for Sleeping to go that far up the lane for.
Yeah, and didn't have the best vision control right there and ended up getting caught out. Kill going over to Spectral is very big because right now he's just been hitting his 2-item power spike. However, the Tristana 2-item spike is not as big as Corki's with that Shiv and Infinity Edge. So he really wants to keep scaling up and get more range from that passive. Tristana passive, of course, gives you more range each time you level up, and it's one of the big reasons that Tristana is one of the AD carries that scales really well with experience and not just gold.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get all of it if you can. Priest Cornet running around. He has his package available to stay safe. Was almost hit, though, by the dogfight. You can see, yeah, you can see how much damage he has and how confident he is with this Corki. Not worried about the flag and drag combo, knowing that he can get out of there instantly with the package.
Yeah, with 2 items now picked up on Kriesland as well, this is a big power spike for Ventus. And with Nocturne and Shen ulti up right now, I'd love to see them go for and engage with that Paranoia with the Shen ulti on top of him. Priest Cornet might be caught out here, though. He's sitting alone in the bush with 3 people there. Ooh, Placeholder not going for the engage, though.
Yeah, Placeholder did not have enough vision, I think, and now Baron is up, and Placeholder not realizing this. Now just getting vision. Baron is down at half HP. You mentioned it, the power spike. This is such a quick Baron grab, but this can go flashing in. Not going to be able to get this steal off. Tries, it was very close, I think, but was not able to get his smite off in time. Baron buff now in the hands of Ventus Esports. Without Tanu on the map, there is no real secure way to engage on them as well. So there's no real way for Placeholder123 to fight this or to be able to clear this. I don't think Nightfear will be able to get close enough to handle these waves, meaning that this is an open inhibitor just waiting to be taken.
Yeah, you can see the immense siege power from the Kai'Sa and the Corki right here. Also insane Baron taking potential from both of them. The Kai'Sa passive with Rageblade means they get procs on every 2 autos. So strong when it comes to taking that Baron. And Corki, of course, insane sustained damage. Really needs to have... I mean, Placeholder really just needed to have more respect for the Baron taking capabilities of Ventus. Now it's going to be a 3rd Dragon, an Infernal, which is very strong for them as well. Going to be resetting, go for even more plays. This game is going to be very hard for Placeholder. The only way I can see them coming back at this point is to make a catch on Ventus.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it's Placeholder that needs to play from behind. Sure, they have the scaling team composition, but they also don't have the inhibitor in the mid lane. And I think 20 minutes into the game, it's just at that point where they should be able to make a lot happen with these super minions pushing into the mid lane. But they need to play quickly, though.
Yeah, they need to play quickly. It looks like they're going to go for the 4-1 with Shen off into the bottom side. And yeah, he's going to be able to sort of push in the Scion, but yeah, with the Baron buff, he's actually going to be able to push in the Scion somewhat significant, then maybe even put pressure onto that Nexus Tower. You can also see the Nocturne being very strong in this sort of split pushing scenario because he don't have to stay close to the team because he can always ult in there from quite far away. So he can go farm in the river, he can go farm in the enemy jungle, go secure vision right there, especially with the Dusk Blade that is picked up. So strong when it comes to controlling vision in the enemy jungle. So he does not need to stay with the team and he can get a lot of freedom with the roams right now. Night Fury, that's a big Aurelion Q.
Yeah, and going to be used on the minions. No real way to engage for them with that. And with Aurelion, sure, you have a lot of damage on the minion wave. You have a lot of clear like that, but you need to get so close to the minion wave that you always have to worry. Here comes the engage, though. Instantly backing up, gonna sacrifice the support for this, the way that you want to do it, but the re-engage is here made. Using his ultimate over the wall, Paranoia forward, and here comes the taunt together with it as well. And here is Priest Cornet just going ham on absolutely
Give
everything.
him the Penta!
Really nothing to stop him right here. Could this be the Penta for Priest Cornet? Valkyrie forward, he's going to get one, he's going to be able to get two. The shield is there to stop him, and no Penta available for Priest Cornet. But the game will be the great consolation prize. Even without the Penta, that is the game, and Ventus Esports got what they wanted, the secure place up in the top.
8-0 and 2 on that, Corky. I'm gonna be checking out the damage done standings here as Sang is putting on his jacket.
Yeah, putting the jacket the wrong way.
Oh, that's...
I apologize. It was a little bit hot inside of here with all of that action happening. You just take that away. I know it's gonna get...
Yeah, I usually have that effect on people that are they're getting really hot around me.
Yeah, I was talking about the game, but you steal the credit.
You mean my game?
Yeah, exactly. With all of, okay, yeah, that you have plenty of game.
Thank you, Sam.
That is true. The jacket is back on, as you can see, and what a game. But Ventus Esports proving that they deserve that top spot. Not sure what happened in game 1 where they lost, but managing to go for the reverse sweep, getting back 2-0.
Yeah, that was very big for them. Gotta say the few question marks in my mind was on Sleeping, who got caught out in the side lane, was not able to get a good TP into that last fight, but his team was far ahead enough to be able to make that not matter. But that's sort of a worrying sign because the next game for them is going to be up against the final tribe, and we know they have a strong top laner in Waysor that likes to play this top lane. Karius has been playing Kled, he's been playing Ilaoi. Can Sleeping go toe-to-toe with that? We're about to find out in the next series.
Yeah, absolutely. Next series is coming off. Ventus Esports still in that game as well versus the final tribe. We'll be back in a few minutes, so don't put your pants on and do not go anywhere.